Nicks, and I'm sitting here in the Hospital Club in Covent Garden. It's not actually a hospital anymore, it's a creative members club, and it's quite groovy. I decided about 2 months ago, when I realised I was going to be 65, which came as a shock. As most people, you just assume you're always about 33 or something, but I thought, oh, what should I do? What do I love doing most? Well, I'm one of those people that doesn't really like parties on New Year's Eve. You know, everybody ends up just blowing one of those things and feeling kind of lonely in the corner. So I thought, well, I love playing live, so why don't I play some shows? So I'm going to play September the 8th at Shepherd's Bush Empire, which I always love playing. It was the last time I played just as me was at Shepherd's Bush Empire, actually. And then I'm going to go up to Sunderland, my hometown, and play Sunderland Empire, which is a place I first ever went to a show or a theatre when I was about 6. I've been making albums in Nashville for the last 8 or 9 years, you know, with Stevie Nicks and Joss Stone and various artists, and really had a great time with the same musicians, played on all these records. So I thought it was my birthday treat. I would fly out some of these amazing Nashville musicians, Chad Cromwell on drums, who plays on so many great records. He's also Neil Young's drummer. Dan Dugmore, who's like the legend of lap steel and pedal steel, and Tom Bukovac, who won, you know, Guitarist of the Year many times in Nashville. And you know, so obviously I have I have 3 great backing vocalists led by Holly Quinn, Sam Flynn, who played keyboards for Eurythmics, Michael Bradford, legendary bass player. But on top of that, I have the London Community Gospel Choir, who are not only going to open the show, but they're also going to sing some of the songs from my repertoire with special guest singers, who I'll not mention any names. So yes, I will be having some surprises. Back in Avalon, well, that was so long ago. This is my new album, just came out, which is me doing duets with lots of people in Nashville, including Alison Krauss, who you might know in Britain through working with Robert Plant, but she's actually won more Grammys than any other living female artist. 27 Grammys, I think, something like that. Martina McBride, who's known as the Queen of Country. And then Stevie Nicks, obviously, she just played in Hyde Park, right, with Tom Petty. And Karen Elson, I don't know if you know Karen Elson. She's great, she's from England, but she lives in Nashville. She was married to Jack White, and she's made 2 great records, and she's and the Secret Sisters, and these are all sort of Nashville, sort of like royalty, I suppose. And so yeah, but I made these records all with the same players that are coming over to London. Nashville has always been very famous for the great players. In fact, there's a famous song called Nashville Cats, where the line says something like, you know, there's so many thousand guitar players in Nashville, and then all of them will be better than you and I will be, you know. So yeah, it's just Music City, basically. So electric juke joint, Junior, I love you. This is a memoir, right, that came out last year, where I did have to look back, obviously. This is me when I was a kid playing the guitar when I was like 14 or something. It starts when I was 6 and realised my dad kept playing songs from musicals, and I would walk up the street singing like I Enjoy Being a Girl, which didn't go down well in Sunderland. But anyway, then it has half the book goes all the way up right to Eurythmics and through Eurythmics to about 2/3 through. Then it goes into all the things that I did after that. That was torture because like I never looked back. So, and also it was torture to write because I couldn't remember anything really. So I had to keep ringing like my mate in Australia who worked with me for years, Tony Quinn, go like, Tony, like September the 12th in 1987, it says here that we played in like Oslo or something. And I can't remember anything about it. And he'd like go, yeah, remember that was the time that you sort of like blah, blah, blah. So that didn't really work because there wasn't enough sort of stimulus to really dig into it. But then I got a whole load of photographs I didn't realize I had, and they were all in the garage and in storage. And when I pulled all those boxes of photographs out, much to everybody who works with me's annoyance, because they were like everywhere, I could just pick up one picture and go, oh God, and then the whole thing would come back, like the whole memory of not only that day, but everything that was happening around that day, and what was on the radio, and who was in the charts, and why I got lost in some sort of like canal, and a lot of things, you know. And so, but it was a torturous process. Anybody who says I'm going to write my autobiography or memoir, I have to warn them, oh God, don't do that, it's like a nightmare. I turn up and there's a whole set list of songs, and Mike Bradford, the bass player, he'll go, okay, so let's do like Would I Lie to You? And I'll go, how's that one go then? And then he'll be going like, you know, it's like this, like. It's like the photograph. As soon as I play the first note, I go, oh, I got it. My career. Well, I think Annie and I were working so hard, like flat out, and we had been living on peanuts. We were living in a squat, and then we recorded on an 8-track tape recorder in a picture framing factory, and you know, it had eaves, you had to walk around like this, and then we couldn't pay the rent anymore, and we moved out. And this is all making the album Sweet Dreams. And then the album came out, and the record label had put out a couple of singles from it, Love Is a Stranger, but they just done okay. But one DJ in America, in I think Cleveland, Ohio, had got an import of the album, started playing Sweet Dreams, and the lights just like blew up, you know, people calling in, who is that? And he didn't know who we were, so he kept ringing RCA Records, because it said RCA in America, going, listen, you've got this band called The Eurythmics, and every time I play this record it goes bonkers, and they go, we have no idea what you're talking about. And eventually they realized he meant Eurythmics, who were signed in London. And so by then, other radio stations had been requesting that import, and it was just like wildfire across America, and literally weeks and weeks. I mean, a very short space of time, we were number one in America. And Annie and I were on I think the second from last gig of a tour across America of not very big places, medium-sized places, and we ended up at the Wilton, and then we went to San Francisco, and the phone, somebody said, the record label wants to talk to you, can you both get near the phone? So we're in my room, and the phone rang, we asked it, and he said, hey, I want to be the first to tell you you're number one in America. And Annie and I we hung up and kind of looked at each other, it was just the two of us. Remember, we'd been the two of us for like years, you know, living as a couple and working away, and we didn't know what to do. We sort of looked out the window, and it was a sort of Japanese style hotel looking over San Francisco. Then we both just leapt on the bed like kids and sort of bounced around, you know, screaming woohoo or whatever. And then we sort of stopped again, like looked out the window, and I think the second time we looked out the window, everything looked a bit different, right? And boy, was it from that moment on, because you see, not only was Sweet Dreams #1, but MTV had started, so we were now never off it.
We felt hounded just like Bonnie and Clyde, that look at each other just before they died.
I mean, I'm going to play a lot of music. It's all songs I've written, right? So, but over a lot of period of time with different people. Obviously, a lot with Annie, and then some with different people. You know, I wrote songs with like everybody from Brian Ferry, Gwen Stefani, Mick Jagger, Sinead O'Connor. I wrote songs with people or for people, and I used to use different names, like John Guillot or Boo Boo Watkins. A bit like Prince would write songs for different people. Didn't want people to know at the time. And so there'll be somewhere people go, oh, blimey, I didn't know that he wrote that song. But look, it's my birthday. I'm gonna have fun.